Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode number 137 for the week of December 16th, 2013. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who is here? Who is here? Who is here with me this week?
Brock Seger.
Bryce Larson.
Oh.
Omar. Toby Sidler. And Charles.
Dang. That would all be Toby. Toby's taking over all four microphones.
Toby's trying to be what's his name? Legion.
Yeah, we got a small group here tonight, which is fine. Charlie's busy with some family stuff. I think Bryce, actually, and Omar too. They all are. Yeah, it's holiday time, getting close to family stuff. But we shall all be here for the next 2 weeks. And by the next 2 weeks, I mean this upcoming Saturday, as we record a special long double episode of our end of the year 2013 review podcast. That's going to be the whole crew. So look for those over the next 2 episodes. But that's not this episode.
And also we're talking about your comic book pick for the end of the year.
Right, that'll be in the second half, Infinity Gauntlet. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this cold I have goes away by then. It's doing much better, but I'm still a little...
I saw that bottle of Dayquil in the back.
I'm still very pale, though, so it's... Well, that's never going to change. But yeah, no, that
You're
Dayquil...
always pale, dude. You're white.
Like, Wednesday it started to kick in, and I'm like, oh, man, already? Like, last year, at least I was out the month of January. Like, this is like it's mid-December, and it's already starting. So... Yeah. Well, we got...
I can get Dayquil from Costco if you want, so just let me know.
Well, we got 1.5 billion things to talk about this week, so let's
start with a half then.
Let's start with some of this stuff here.
Half a million?
$500 million.
Well, we've got a decent amount of movie conspiracy and TV conspiracy and cartoon conspiracy to talk about later in the episode. So we're going to talk about comic books at the beginning.
Yeah, comics, because that's what this is, a comic podcast.
Yeah, we talk about comics occasionally on here. There's all sorts of crap that happened. You know what? This has been kind of a shitty week for news and stuff. Like, I don't know what is going on, but a bunch of garbage happened this week, and here's some of it. So, first off, Marvel released first off, Marvel. Right, where's Bryce? So Marvel released Inhumanity, which was a one-shot issue. See, I actually in previous episodes, I'm pretty sure I said this was a miniseries.
Yeah, I think you did.
I'm completely wrong. That's actually just a one-shot issue.
It's okay. I read it and I thought it was going to be a miniseries.
Yeah, it's I don't know how I missed this, but yeah, it's apparently just a one-shot issue. Anyway, so they've decided to actually put out an issue number 2. It's not a regular issue number 2. What they're doing is they're taking the Inhumanity Medusa one-shot and making it Inhumanity number 2.
Are they going to have Medusa on the cover?
I mean, I think everything's going to be the same. They're just going to change the name of it.
And the number?
Yeah. So if you liked Inhumanity number 1, look for Inhumanity number 2, apparently, which is a Medusa one-shot. So I get why they did this, because no one ordered Inhumanity. I think I ordered like 3 copies, and I ordered like 25 of Inhumanity, which neither of that's great, but still, it's like, yeah, I get why they're doing this, but I'm not going to change my order. I don't think anyone cares.
Because I think the last time there was a Inhumans event crossover, like with the main books, was Secret Invasion, right? Well, they had Secret Invasion Inhumans.
Maybe. I mean, they bust out the Inhumans from time to time, which is fine, but I don't know. They
rub them out.
They're really trying to push the Inhumans with this post Infinity world that Marvel now has, and as part of their big like Marvel Now relaunch, or all new Marvel Now relaunch. So, but I just don't. I'm just not feeling it. So, if you like that, that's cool. But there's more changes for the Inhumans coming up. In the last episode, we talked about Inhuman number 1, which is the Matt Fraction Joe Mad ongoing title. Got pushed back, and it's coming out in April. Well, now, Matt Fraction's not even doing it now. Charles Soule, who's been doing a whole bunch of crap for DC and Marvel and Oni and Image and everything, is writing a 19th book, which is going to be Inhuman starting in April. So I don't know if they're changing up. I don't know if Matt Fraction's still kind of plotting the first issue. Maybe Joe Mad didn't do any of the first issue, so we're getting a completely new issue. I have no idea. It's weird.
I mean, I think it's a surprise because everyone thought it would be delayed more because of Joe Mad versus the writer.
Well, it's possible that it's just a combination of both of them at this point. So,
okay.
If you were looking forward to all these Inhuman books from Marvel, don't be, I guess, because they're not happening. It's all different. And, when all this stuff happened with DC, with New 52, when they were changing creative teams and all this stuff, I mean, people were freaking out. Well, we had, Joe Mad, pushed, assuming the issue got pushed back because of him, Matt Fraction off the book. They also announced Zeb Wells, who hasn't even started the Elektra ongoing that's supposed to come out, is already off the book, being replaced with Hayden Blackman. I'm not familiar with him. But anyway, it's like, we have another creator off a book before it's even launched. Like at the height of that New 52 hate, people were like, "Oh my god," blah, 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 freaking out over this. And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever. No one cares." I don't. It's bizarre. No one cares when Marvel does this. And I always find
it's because with Marvel, they kind of come to expect instantaneous change on a book, especially with art.
Well, art's different. Art's all over the place. Marvel has been relatively good about this in recent years, except when it happens, though, it's always been Matt Fraction. He dropped the FF books just on a dime. They canceled that Defenders series out from underneath him. There's been a lot of weird stuff with him and Marvel. I don't know if maybe they just want to move on to other projects, or it's just not working out for them.
Maybe they don't want their book to come up in searches next to sex criminals.
Maybe. I don't know. But he's working on other stuff. I mean, Matt Fraction is still working for Marvel, so who knows?
Yeah.
So that's some weird Marvel news. They're changing around a bunch of their books.
Again.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do. But it's not only that. There's a bunch of crappy. Well, we got some other Marvel stuff to talk about here in a bit here. But there's a bunch of crappy DC news as well. Well, it's not all crappy. It's mostly crappy. Yeah. But there's a couple things. DC announced they're ending Batman Dark Knight, which I actually thought was an okay Batman title. Greg Horwitz is the writer. That has been the sort of Batman as horror title they've been working on. It's felt kind of distinctive from the rest of the titles.
Yeah, I've been reading it since the beginning. I've enjoyed it, but I think what the problem that I've always had with it is it sticks with characters for too long. Like it was on Scarecrow for like 8 issues.
That was a long arc.
And then now it's kind of, I don't even remember who was in between, and now it's like they're on Clayface. They've been on Clayface for issue after issue after issue after issue, and it's just kind of like, there's no change up. There's no kind of like going through the rogues gallery, but giving us like you said, more from a horror aspect of it or a dark aspect.
Yeah, it's been a very dark book, but it's been cool. I've liked it.
I mean, I've enjoyed it. I mean, canceling it,
well, they're canceling it. In my mind, this is some of the DC cleanup. There's a lot of rumor that DC's going to have a bunch of new stuff coming out in April. And this, I'm assuming, is kind of just setting some of the groundwork for it. We have Batman Eternal, which is a weekly series. So that's going to be 4 Batman books now coming out a month. So I'm assuming a lot of this is just in response to that to clear some house. I'm sure Batwing will go. I don't know if anything else will, but at least we'll see a couple of books get dropped off there. But it's weird because this wasn't kind of officially announced by DC. This was announced by Greg Horwitz, the writer. And he kind of wrapped up his own arc.
Well, you know why it was announced by him, right?
Why is that?
DC doesn't have a PR department.
Wow. That's not entirely untrue. I don't know what the hell they're doing this day. But besides that, and probably the biggest disappointing news from DC is Jeff Lemire is ending Animal Man. And it's like Jeff Lemire is ending Animal Man. He's ending the book. And DC's like, okay, fine.
What?
Yeah. So did you not hear about this?
No.
Oh, yeah. Animal Man's done. 29 is the last issue.
What?
Yeah. Jeff Lemire's
Who do I have to punch in the face?
Jeff Lemire. He's going to write and draw the last issue along with what's his face? Was it Trevor Foreman doing the end? Yeah, Trevor Foreman's doing the art with him in the last issue, but he's going to draw it because he's done art before. Animal Man has been one of my favorite of the New 52 titles, and he said let me see here. Well, because he's going to be doing the new Justice League title, which is like the Justice League something. I don't remember what the hell it is. So he's going to be a regular member of the new Justice League book I am writing. I don't think it's Justice League. That's a Jeff Johns one. I have no idea what he's doing. But besides that, he says, after finishing the script for 29, I felt I had completed the story I wanted to tell with the Baker family, and thought it was a perfect ending for the series. The best way for me to explore new things with the character would be to move him to a team setting and shake up his status quo. DC agreed, and the Animal Man series will end with my final issue in March. So very rare that kind of a creator has ended a series
I think that's cool, actually. I mean, if he does it right, why not?
Yeah.
And as opposed to having seen what happened to Green Lantern at this point, I'd rather them, like, if Jeff Johns could have ended Green Lantern, I would have taken that.
He kind of did. I mean,
but
let's
you
be
know what I mean,
honest.
though? I would have taken that. I would breathe a little bit of non-Green Lantern for a year or so, and maybe have Jeff Johns bring it back.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think this is cool.
I mean, I'm disappointed.
Good. I mean, if the stories are good, then I don't mind if they're ending books.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed that it's ending because I liked it.
Yeah, but if he's doing it on his own terms, then why not?
Right.
Yeah.
So, which is cool. Yeah, I mean, it'd be disappointing to see Animal Man not around anymore, but it sounds like he's going to be working him into that Justice League book he's doing. So, I guess that's cool. But yeah, one of the rare few New 52 books that were still going on. I think it was about 60% was the number I saw. So it's probably close to about 50% now because a few are ending. Dark Knight and now this. And he was one of the few that was the creator on the entire series.
Yeah.
Again, most of the ones that have stuck around have had the same creator the entire time.
Yeah.
But it's been, a few of these books have gone through just creative team after creative team after creative team. So it's cool to see Jeff Lemire sticking through so much of it. And I hope I do love me some Animal Man. So hopefully he's not gone for too long. DC announced officially they were getting another weekly series, which is 5 years later.
On top of the Eternal?
Right, so we have Batman Eternal, which is the Batman weekly series. Mm-hmm. And now we have Future's End, which is the New 52 Future's End, which is the New 52 weekly series. They're going to bring Batman Beyond officially into the DC universe with this event. Some of the promo art for it, there's like a Brother Eye thing going on here. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's announced this officially as part of it, but all the characters have sort of like this what looks like an eyeball with like a red eye in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting kind of this Brother Eye vibe, which for people that don't know was one of Batman's creations. I mean, originally it was an old Jack Kirby concept, but they brought it back and he's one of Batman's creations that was responsible for a lot of bad crap pre-New 52.
Yeah. The OMAC project.
Yeah. So
good stuff, though.
Those weekly series for DC, I mean, they were hit or miss. I mean, the first couple, 52 was great.
52 was great. Countdown
was
wavered a little bit. I mean, it had its moments.
It wavered a lot.
It wavered basically like it counted down too.
Yeah. And Trinity
was garbage.
Trinity was fine, but it was so inconsequential.
Yeah.
It didn't. Yeah. This is more like the 52, which is going to be written by Jeff Lemire, Keith Giffen, Brian Azzarello, and Dan Jurgens. Four creators who I enjoy in various fashions. So, again, if it's written...
So, basically, we're going to get Animal Man, Booster Gold...
Yeah, you're probably exactly right. Animal Man, Booster Gold, Legion of Superheroes.
It'll be the B team roster.
Right.
Which, 52 did an amazing job with. Honestly, 52 got me into a lot of, lower tier characters.
Well, the cover here is, it looks like Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, it looks more like Steel, and maybe Superman, but it kind of looks like Steel, Flash, and they're all kind of being, roboticized with this Brother Eye kind of looking planet behind them, with Batman Beyond kind of front and center, kind of hovering over everyone, looking like he's trying to fight him or something. So, they teased bringing Batman Beyond into the DC universe prior. He right pre New 52. He was in a Superman Batman annual.
Yeah,
and they've kind of talked about bringing him in, but this seems like maybe the first time.
How would they do it, though? Is it just coming out of the future?
Yeah, it's going to jump 5 years into the New 52 future. So you figure the New 52 has been around for 5 years, right?
Okay. Already?
No. When they started the titles,
okay.
The Justice League had formed 5 years prior.
Okay.
So we're 5 years. So we were 6 years post that, right? Mm-hmm. And then this is going 5 more years into the future, and it looks kind of post-apocalyptic-y and everything.
This is like where the Dustin Nguyen issue comes in with Snyder's Dustin's issue.
Right, yeah. I didn't have that on the thing, but we should totally talk about that. Because there's going to be a fill-in. The last issue of Batman Year Zero, or Zero Year, has been pushed back an issue because it was oversized. So Dustin Nguyen's going to come in with Scott Snyder and do a one-shot kind of like look into the future of Batman, what's coming up the next year or two in the Batman titles. It's kind of like a sneak peek issue, kind of teasing.
Nightwing Blue is back.
Is he really?
Well, we don't know who it is, but the first drawing that I saw, the Nightwing Blue.
Oh yeah,
someone.
Yeah. It's kind of, it doesn't look like Nightwing, but it's got the same sort of style.
The blue is back.
Right.
But is it going to be Terry? Do we know yet?
Don't know.
So it might be just
I don't think it says. Yeah, it says characters will include Batman Beyond, Frankenstein, and Firestorm, looking at not just the future of the New 52, but its past and present as well. So this may be a story that, the story is going to take place in the future, but it sounds like what they're going to do is introduce elements in the main books, and then this series will sort of extrapolate on them and expand on them. And then it'll probably revert back as we see stuff built.
It's like flash forwards and Lost.
Right.
It's like Rip Hunter's chalkboard.
Right. Something similar.
Gold, yeah.
But as an actual series. So, yeah, that's cool. I just don't know. Part of this comes with what I wanted to talk here, because we get the November 2013 numbers. And we don't always talk about sales chart numbers here. But I thought it was this was one kind of worth talking about here, because as we see Marvel and DC really trying to shift ideas, shift focus, trying to do something different, try some new books, do these new weekly series, cancel a bunch of stuff. Marvel and DC are basically neck and neck at this point. There was a point back in the day where Marvel was like 80%, 90% of the industry. Those days are long gone. In fact, this last month for November 2013, let me see. I don't know if this is for the first time ever, but it might be. Both Marvel and DC are under 30% equally, each other, of the market share. So the two companies together are less than 60% of the market.
Holy shit!
Which is the first time in my mind that I can remember this happening. In my memory that I can remember this happening. If it has, it's been, I don't know what would have caused it. Maybe like the height of the Image kind of moving around. But even that, Marvel was so far ahead of everyone else. So yeah, I don't know. It's Image. Image has gone up. Actually, I'm sorry. Image was down. Dark Horse was up. IDW was up. Dynamite was up. Boom was up. Valiant was up. So a lot of these smaller companies are doing a little bit better. But I can speak from personal experience that my Marvel and DC numbers are struggling right now. Yeah. So, as we see them going into the next year, we've had, there was a couple of weak years, but we had DC kind of responded, then Marvel responded. We've had some of the better years in recent comic history, in the last, or comic sales history, the last decade. And now we're kind of on that downward slope as sort of that sheen's worn off. So, do you guys find you're buying more comics or enjoying more or enjoying less? What's your take on this?
Well, for me, even before the Marvel Now stuff, I had cut out Marvel completely from my buying, just because the stories weren't worth it for me, and I didn't feel like I was getting.
We know.
Yeah. Anyway,
but are you seeing this with DC as well?
Well, with DC,
do you find you're picking up more indies?
With DC, I'm definitely picking up a lot more indie titles. I pick up Valiant's entire line. My DC titles, the New 52, going in, I didn't read everything. I picked up a couple that after people had said, try this, it's good. And I'm glad I picked up a couple of them, like Demon Knights was one that I originally wasn't going to read, but then I ended up buying and really enjoying. But yeah, I'm constantly going through and saying, do I need this? Do I not need this? Do I really care? I dropped Superman and Action. It's the books just haven't been doing it for me. So, but yeah, I do find myself picking up a lot more independent titles as I go. And like with the Justice League 3000 that came out this week, I checked it out, but I didn't go for it. So yeah, I definitely see a decrease in the actual stuff that I'm buying, and an increase in independent purchases that I'm making. I think I'm getting Manifest Destiny, which has been great from Image. I checked out that Dead Road book.
Yeah, I didn't check that out yet.
It looked interesting. I enjoyed it. I'm giving a lot of Vertigo titles a try. Their last wave of books was kind of shitty when they did that big wave a year and a half ago or something. But this time, Coffin Hill's gotten better. in my opinion. Federal Bureau of Physics is entertaining enough that I keep reading it. The Wake is awesome. So yeah, I think it just depends on what you're looking for. But I mean, I've heard people say the same thing on Marvel side, where they buy mainly Marvel, but they've been cutting a lot of stuff because they're just like, it's not appealing anymore. So I don't know, Toby, you?
Well, I always been sort of even. I mean, I got my good chunk of Marvel and DC, maybe like 30%, that's why it's 60, probably 20%, like what I call kits, and not kits manga, but kits and manga. Like, I pick up some of the younger reader stuff, just because I enjoy it, the manga stuff, and then maybe, actually, yeah, 30, and then I think 20% of what's it called, indie stuff. I mean, always kind of been all around anyways. I still pick up my regular books I've been picking up before. I mean, I know Gamut's canceled, but that's a book I picked up before. I pick up Nightwing, I pick up my Birds, but my enthusiasm isn't there anymore. I'll be honest. I really gave it a shot with the New 52 when it started, and as we went on, I just kind of stopped caring. I still buy the books, but I kind of dropped the extra books, but I still buy my Birds, still buy my Nightwing and Batgirl, but I'm really slow in reading them. I really do want to catch up on the Capullo and Snyder Batman stuff, so I hear that's really good, so I really want to give that a shot. But what I was worried about when New 52 started has kind of gotten me to kind of not read as much anymore. Like, I do miss my pre-52 universe, and stuff is not really holding me as I thought it would, and I just kind of, over time, when I got behind, I stopped caring as much. Marvel side, too, is just like, I was really into was it the Rocket Punisher, or was it Brubaker Rocket Punisher? I was really into that, and that kind of went away. So the books I really liked are seemingly disappearing. Plus, Ryan never orders enough of them because my pick is always selling out. I'm joking, Ryan. So I don't know. I mean, and it's harder to buy them, I think, at this point, because the trades are kind of skinny. I talked to Charlie about this. It seems like there's less pages in each issue now. So when the trade comes out, they seem really expensive, while they kind of have almost the same amount, but they look so skinny. They're like $20 and stuff like that.
Well, Marvel's had a lot of trades that are 5 issues. You think their comics are 20 pages, so 5 issues should be 100 pages of content, right?
That's right,
because it's 20 pages, 5 issues, right?
And they used to have the 80-page annuals,
right? But the pages are the comics are $17.99. They're as thick as a prestige format comic.
Yeah, I can't stand trades like that, so I don't see myself buying those, right? So that's a problem. That means I'm waiting for the omnibus, which are really pricey too. So I'll wait that out too. So I'm like, the whole thing is like in a weird state, because Marvel used to be pretty good about collecting 2 trades in one of those oversized hardcovers. I love that format. That kind of is not as constant anymore. It used to be like I could just wait for that and buy that and have like a nice little hardcover collection going on.
They do it with some,
but it's not really there anymore. And the trades are just kind of, I think, all over the board. They're just so skinny, and I don't like having a bunch of little skinny trades on my shelf.
We had a customer come in and ask about when are they coming out with the trades instead of the hardcovers on some of these Marvels, and it's like,
well, they take forever.
The
soft covers
are taking forever to come out, and it's like, I looked at I would have bought Jason Aaron's Thor in a hardcover format if it was actually a decent amount of issues.
Well, at least with DC, you have the hardcover. The soft cover comes out when the next hardcover comes out.
Yeah, so Marvel's there's like a way to it, so you know what's coming up.
Yeah, Marvel's released 2 or 3 hardcovers with no soft cover in sight. Yeah. So it's a bizarre situation.
Yeah, that was the problem. Like, I still haven't read those early Daredevil issues from the Wade stuff because they hadn't released a trade, and by the time I started reading Daredevil, like single issues, at least reading it, I was like, I don't give a shit about going back and reading it.
Marvel used to be really good at their trades on hardcover. It used to be very constant. After 6 issues, a month or 2 down the line, there's a trade of the first 6 issues. Then there's a trade of the second 6 issues, and then you get the hardbound, double-sized trade, basically. And I was like, that's awesome, because there's a book I semi-like. If I really like it, I'll buy the issues, right? If I so-so like it, or just really am reading it more for the story, like Walking Dead. I always picked up to trades because I fell behind, and I just like reading them in bunches anyways, right? So I was very constant on, if I like it, I'll buy the trade. If I really like it, as in like the Marvel Knights Daredevil stuff, I bought the hardcovers. Like, I really like it. I bought the single issues and then bought the hardcovers. So I feel like I don't know what's going on anymore. I really don't. Like, I almost wanted to buy the Gambit trades, but I'm like,
They're so small.
I'll take them all in one book, basically, at this point, right?
Yeah,
I was like, I have all the single issues, but I mean, I'm behind.
You could just pay $30 and get them bound.
Yeah, but, then, I don't know, $30 is still $30. I mean, have all the single issues, I could just pick them up,
It's
right?
only 17 issues. That's so small.
Yeah,
but you're paying $30 for those. You would spend 60, like, what?
Almost $60.
Almost $60 just to get the thin trades.
To me, I mean, maybe I'm just an old hag now for being in the industry a little bit. I mean, I want to see, like, how many is it? 17, 25 issues, 17 issues?
Yeah.
To me, that should be a $25, $30 trade.
Yeah.
All together in one piece, right? But now that trade is going to be like $40 or going to be a $50 hardcover, which I feel like there's all kinds of wrong now with the pricing structure. So,
well, Marvel's released a lot of these, like Civil War and I don't think Civil War was, but Age of Apocalypse, and I know the upcoming Infinity one. The hardcovers are $75.
Yeah, they're all these omnibuses, right?
No,
No,
it's just the oversized hardcover.
No, it's like the Flash one.
They come with a bunch of extra crap in it, but it's still $75. Where those used to be $39.99.
Well, I think I've seen. I saw Charlie has one, and they look like the omnibus. They're just not called the omnibus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what they do with that first Flash collection,
That's
John's
a little
collection.
different. Yeah, but those are omnibuses.
It was an omnibus, but it was $75 for basically what you got out of the first Matt Fraction hardcover for $40.
I just got the Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus, which is retailing at $100, I think. And I believe it's collecting two of the previous hardcovers, which I think were $30 each. So 30 and 30 is 60. Why is this new one $100? Where's that extra 40? Even if they were 35,
I'm pretty sure it's 125.
Say they were 35 originally each. That's 70. And if it is 100 or 125, where's that extra $50 coming from? Just because I waited this long? Now I have all these single issues again. But
it's the digital code.
That doesn't have a digital code.
It doesn't come with it?
No.
Oh, jeez.
No, omnibuses don't.
Yeah, and I feel like almost like this format that's too big even. So I'm like, unless I'm like Charlie, I'm a big tall man that has everything.
Read at the altar.
Yeah, it's like, as a dude with everything is smaller, that book is darn heavy.
Well, it's funny because Marvel, between Marvel and DC, I think right now they're both in a flux. They both had good ideas. They both had good kind of first years. But now we're seeing the shines off, and we're down to kind of where we were prior with a lot of this stuff. But
I mean, here to add, Image, The Walking Dead hasn't changed. I'm still buying the trade. Yeah. If I was...
it's every what, July and December, November?
Well, no, the smaller ones, yeah, sure, twice a year, and then they got the double ones coming out, right? Very nice format, and then if you're really behind, you could buy these really giant big ones, right? So,
well, they're doing that with Saga, because Saga's going to come out with their first hardcover
of the first
two trades.
Don't even get me started on the DC trades and the hardcovers. The way to collect your books, like, some of the ones are identical, minus one issue. I think, like, the Aquaman one is the same as the Justice League, minus, one issue.
Justice League 3 and Aquaman
who does
3.
that? Who seriously, put that one extra issue in the other book and sell it together. Call it Aquaman slash
well, no,
Justice
just
League.
Don't even call it JLA or Aquaman, just call it Throne of Atlantis.
Well, that's what they've done with the rest of their crossovers, yeah. But outside the trades, I know that's kind of a specific thing. But, we're looking here at some of the single issues, too, because, these guys got to turn stuff around. And, this goes to talking about the trade paperbacks and everything, because it all means just content that's going to be in there. DC's, I think Marvel and DC are in weirdly similar yet opposite problems. Marvel's attempt at kind of having everything crossing over and being an event within itself is having some issues and not working as well as they'd want. DC having most of their books remaining almost completely independent of each other, except for crossovers where they sort of cross over one issue, that's also kind of not working. So I think we're in a position...
It's like Zero Year.
Right, stuff like that is not doing... it's not helping anyone.
Well, no, it's... not Zero Year. It's back when they did issue zeros, the zero issues in DC,
right.
when they had that one issue, or 0 hour, when they had that one issue in each title that was a 0-hour issue.
Yeah.
It's like it breaks up like what's going on with each story.
Well, the 0-hour issues were they ended the arc prior to that. The Zero issue was like a relaunch of whatever the series was. Okay. So yeah, no, with when they DC, what they've done recently is they've had these 0-year crossovers, and they're having this Gothopedia crossover, and they have their 0 issues. All of them are just interrupting the flow of whatever's going on in the title completely, and it's really odd. I don't like that. And I mean, we've had this in the past. We've kind of always had this with all the crossovers, but it feels that some of these books are standing on their own so much that when they do these big crossovers, it's like, why are you even involving this? It feels
I think it's also bad because
it doesn't flow into it at all.
It's because we had September, we had Villains Month, and then we come back to October and we have a regular issue, and then November is 0 year, and then now we're back to it's like
and January is Gothopedia,
and so it's like it's literally like one issue of like finish your arc or don't finish your arc. We're going to break it up, and then this issue finishes the arc. But then we're going to jump to this 0 year.
I hate that. It's all of that.
One issue.
I just want to read my issues.
It's one issue crossover, one issue crossover, one issue crossover. And
I feel like crossovers have destroyed comic books or mainstream comic books.
To me, Marvel and DC, there are elements where they've done it correct. I think, and you see it, and you see the sales.
Lantern Blackest Night.
Well, hold on. So for me, you have. The two main types have been where you just have this one crossover issue between a bunch of books, and there are times where that has worked, like the Joker thing, Death of the Family. But those books worked that situation into what was going on.
Yeah.
The 0 issues, the 0 year, the Gothopedia stuff feel like they just take you out completely out of the story.
Well, it's they take it completely out of the story and they attach it to what's going on with Batman.
Right.
So it's Enigma has killed power to the city, and on top of that, there's this huge storm coming. It's like it couldn't just be the power was out.
Where it works is when you have, and then with Marvel again, same thing. Those Infinity crossovers were all awful and sold terribly. But where it works is when you have. Like the Green Lantern crossovers that are the family crossovers that are numbered, or you have the Battle of the Atom. Despite, Brock, what you may have thought of the crossover, those issues sold fantastic because it was a numbered crossover. The books all naturally fed into this event. It was meaningful in some degree, and these worked really, really well as a crossover. It didn't interrupt the flow of the books because this was all something they were all kind of as going towards a purpose. So you have there are multiple ways to go about these big events and these big crossovers. But for me, Marvel needs and DC need their books to stand alone. They need to have them also part of a universe, which is very, very, very tricky. I understand. But, when you have a book like Hawkeye that's completely standalone, you shouldn't look at that and go, okay, we have to have every book emulate that because you need books to be involved in the crossover. So, I mean, I don't envy the editors. They're in a tricky position because they're trying to save Marvel. Not save Marvel, doesn't need saving, but you know what I mean. They're trying to boost their numbers by launching a Ghost Rider and Elektra comic. I'm just telling you right now, it ain't going to happen. DC, at least to me, their new books have made more sense. A Superman and Wonder Woman book makes sense. Whether you like it or not, a second Justice League book makes sense. A Batman weekly series makes sense.
But they're trimming out, like you said, they're trimming off, Batman Dark Knight, which is not necessarily
they're trimming the fat.
It's like Lemire as ending Animal Man. So it's like we have 2 spots that we can now fill.
Right.
What can we justifiably fill it with that might continue to sell well?
Right, but this is always the problem is that you don't want just more Batman because I like Animal Man and Elektra and Ghost Rider may be great, but those are hard sells. It's almost like I don't know what to do. Like, should Marvel and DC just relaunch their entire line every single year?
Every 2 years?
No. Like every single book is a new #1 and you have all this promotion at the same time. But so they're in this horrible position right now where I don't think there's any answer. And I mean, I think, I made a joke about this a little while ago about how to save the Legion of Superheroes. You launch it with a solid creative team and you accept 15,000 copies selling. And that's all, and that's how you save the Legion, is that you just put it out knowing it's only going to sell 15,000. I think these companies are hurting number-wise, and they're going to continue to hurt until there's some, in my mind, stability. But then, here's the problem. Customers and readers hate stability. They want the big crossovers. They want the change up.
No,
they do.
No,
the numbers prove that they do.
Look, I'll be honest. Right now, the main book I'm going to read right now is the Snyder and Capullo Batman. And it's because I know they've been on there for a while and they got stuff going on. Only reason why I really want to check it out, well, besides I hear that it's good, I know that is a solid team that's on it. Like everything else, I mean, like that's to go way back. That's where the Ultimate Universe, I think, fell apart. Is when Bendis, is doing his Spider-Man thing. But when they started switching creative teams to Ultimates, that's when it went all sour. Yeah. When they started switching creative teams on Ultimate X-Men, when the voice of Mark Millar, I know you hate him, but was gone, I feel like that's when it all disappeared. That's when all the magic was gone.
Well, we had a point where you had a lot of big-name creators. You had Bendis, and you had Johns, and you had Mark Millar, and you had Warren Ellis, and you had Grant Morrison. You had these guys that could sell books on their names alone.
Yeah.
Right now, we have Bendis at Marvel.
Yes, but I wouldn't say Bendis is not the same what he was 10 years ago.
But he still sells books.
Does he?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
And you have Johns at DC.
But not all new X-Men number 19.
They've all sold well. I think you just don't have. I think we haven't had that next generation of
besides
big
Snyder,
except for Snyder.
Yeah.
He is a perfect example of the quality of his work has shown above everyone else's, and that is a guy who can now sell a book based on his name alone. Fraction is probably Marvel's second. He just hasn't had quite the success that I would think Snyder has at this point. We need these superstar writers back. We need them to sell books. We need the energy and the excitement.
Where do you think they are? Do you think they're just over in TV land writing?
I think they're in TV land. I think they're. Some of these guys are good, but is Charles Soule going to be the next Bendis? I don't know, maybe, but it takes a few years, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Snyder kind of. It took him about a year. His run of Detective was solid, and then when they launched Batman, boom, that shot him into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
So, going forward, it's going to be a rough year for both Marvel and DC because I think a lot of these books they're banking on. Harley Quinn will do well, but it's not going to be the biggest. It was a really good seller for the Zero issue, but I'll tell you, we didn't sell nearly as many as I had hoped.
And who was writing Palmiotti? Or is he actually the actual writer?
Yeah.
See, I could see Palmiotti in that book.
Yeah, but
I think that's a good choice.
I think that book will sell well because of the character, but how well will it do long term? It's going to be a good mid-tier Batman title, maybe upper-tier Batman title.
That's too bad that he couldn't get his girl to draw it. That would have been a good draw.
She's going to be doing the covers.
Yeah.
Connor's going to be doing all the covers.
I think Connor and him, that would have been a really good team up for.
Did you read the Zero issue?
Mm-mm.
It was basically a joke on what artist could we get to actually
really funny.
Come out on time every month with a Harley Quinn book. And the artist, that they're going to have do it. It's
good.
Good artist.
Yeah.
And they even had a segment with Amanda Connor in there. Amanda Connor drew a thing where it was, she's like, no, you can't hurt her. She's going to be our best-selling. She's going to be the best-selling book out of all the ones we write.
Yeah.
Their team on Power Girls, I thought it was excellent. I would like to see them team up on Harley Quinn. That would be cool.
Yeah, just going forward here, I think it's going to be. I think 2014 is going to be a rough year for both Marvel and DC, at least when it comes to the comics.
This writer thing, dude, people from the past just have to go away. Bendis is not as strong anymore right now, but couldn't he be back? What about Ellis? Couldn't he be back? Grant Morrison could come back and write some crazy shit again.
Yeah, sure. And Warren Ellis is going to do he's doing some stuff for Marvel. He's going to be writing the.
Do they just burn out? What happens?
They get calls from Hollywood.
Oh.
Or they get burned out, or they're not the same. But here's the thing.
Frank Miller,
you think you want guys back, and then Frank Miller comes back, or Chris Claremont comes back, or John Byrne comes back, and you're like, oh, never mind.
Well, I think it's also, it's also partly I'm also really enjoying Layman and Taylor and a couple of these lower tier writers on some of these books, but their books aren't necessarily shining through. Right, no, because their numbers are so low.
We just haven't had a major breakout creator other than Snyder. And really, that was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the last year has not given us a major breakout from Marvel or DC.
No.
And I think something has to give. You look at DC pre-New 52, and their numbers were solid, but they were bad.
Yeah.
and we're not quite in that same position, but we're definitely getting close as they publish fewer titles, which is good. I mean, I want them to publish fewer titles. I would love for Marvel to be like, we're axing half our line. We're going to survive off 30 titles and put quality work into them. That is how you save the industry. But it's never going to happen. But it's never going to happen because this industry now survives on, 100,000 fans that buy a shitload of comics. It used to survive on a couple million fans that all bought a couple comics. Yeah. And when you lose one person out of a couple million, it's no big deal. When you lose one person out of 100,000, that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Much more significant than out of 1 million or 2 million. Yeah. So, when I lose a customer, they're starting to be a bigger and bigger percent of money that I'm losing. And this, every comic store trickles back up to the companies. And, while, again, it may be small, it's not insignificant. I mean, I'm dropping most Marvel and DC books on an average basis, a couple copies every month. Well, I would say maybe on average a copy a month. And that doesn't sound like much, but if you look at it year to year, right, I don't expect Action Comics to sell as much with issue 1 or as issue 24 as to do with issue 1. But when you're talking, I'm selling 25 copies at issue 24 and then 22 copies and then here comes Greg Pak, and it sells a copy less, and then you multiply that times 52 books for DC and 70 books for Marvel, and you're doing a copy here, a copy there. That's 70, 80, 90, 100 less comics month after month after month. I mean, and it adds up really fast.
Well, and it adds up fast for you because, you have subscribers that don't tell you to drop books, and they're just putting it back on the shelves.
Well, exactly. It doesn't matter why they're dropping it. It just, So I'm hoping... the independents are doing good. Mm-hmm. There are still very good comic sales out there. I don't want to sound this is all doom and gloom. And we still, as a store, do very well. But this is this trend over the last year. Mm-hmm. We had 2011 to 2012 was fantastic. And we're starting to see it sort of taper off. So, we need that boost, and I don't think a relaunch, I don't think big events are the way about it. I think we need, industry-wide change is what is needed. And it's not going to happen.
Back to your point about
more events, please.
Well, back to your point about the events and stuff like that. Like Forever Evil's going on right now,
and doing very well. The crossovers are doing very well. And this goes back to Toby's point. While you may not like it, the 100,000 people who still read comics like it. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I think that the miniseries are doing
mainstream comics.
I enjoy the miniseries. Like they have the 3 extra minis for it. Right. Those work. But my problem is the Justice League Dark involvement in it with that whole Blight kind of story arc.
Well, that's a big giant crossover.
It's a big giant crossover. The problem, I literally read what happens to Question, Phantom Stranger, and Pandora, what happens to them before it actually happened to them in their books. Because of the way the books came out or the way I read them.
Yeah. That's just logistics. That's hard.
But the thing is,
that kind of stuff happens, and you just gotta live with it.
No, I know. But it's here's the reading order in the back of the book. You don't necessarily need to give me a reading order. Just say, Justice League Blight down at the bottom, part 3 or part 4.
I mean, going to Forever Evil, actually, I don't mind big crossover if it's like a miniseries like Forever Evil, and then you got the Justice League Elites is involved in it, Nightwing is involved in it. Those crossover books that make sense to be part of that.
Well, and they led up to the event as well.
I'm full on board in that, even if it involves my Nightwing. That's totally cool with me. What I don't like is I pick up, say, I don't know,
Green Lantern Corps.
Just say Green Arrow. I say I pick up Green Arrow. All of a sudden, there's For Evil crossover, and all of a sudden, the next 2 issues of my Green Arrow are, and I don't know, it might be, I'm not reading the book right now, is 2 issues of random stuff. And that goes back to the actual story. I mean, that really bugs the hell out of me. Why bother?
Or, well, that's kind of what was happening with Zero Year, and what's going to happen with this Gothopedia thing, where they are not only interrupting the books, they're putting in other times.
Yeah.
So it is a flashback and then a flash forward. They are completely...
Make it separate. I mean, we used to have a bunch of miniseries. Why can't those be miniseries again?
See, and this is always the tricky thing with miniseries, that people don't buy miniseries.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's like Green Lantern Corps and Green Arrow jumped to do 0 Year. And I enjoyed both stories for what they were in 0 Year, but where they fell in reading order in the comic books was horrible.
Yeah.
Like, same thing with The Flash. Like, it's like you grab these books, you pull them into the crossover event for one book. It's interrupting a story just to fit in the month that this is going on. Yeah. Like, that, I think, is a huge ding, especially with, certain titles like, I don't know.
Well, we got
to move on.
We got a ton more to talk about here, and nowhere near enough time to talk about all this. So, there's a couple things. We're going to skip this stuff. We're going to talk about some of this stuff. We're just going to talk about more at length next week because we have a couple of big things to talk about here real quick. But real quick, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is apparently going to direct and star in a Sandman movie. So let's see about that.
I'm fine with that.
And we'll talk about that more next week, as well as, and this, Toby, especially, I want to get your opinion on this because I know you're big on. We'll do
Fast and Furious.
No.
No, your other passion.
If you listen to the Fat Man on Batman podcast, he had a new episode with Paul Dini. It's a Kevin Smith podcast.
That stuff was so good.
The most recent one?
The 51. The one, well, I mean, they just recorded at the one time and they split up into two. I like the first part a lot, where they talk about Shadow to Bat. Basically, Paul Dini and Kevin were just shit-talking and going, hey, and they were starting to talk about the Arkham Origins trailer and with Wayne's basically school years, and they were like, "Fuck, we need to make this a CW show. This is the stuff that hasn't been touched on. This is the new stuff." And they're starting just shooting the shit, and it became like they full on have a pitch in the whole podcast. They kind of took over the whole podcast talking about this, about doing a Bruce Wayne CW show where he could be at a school and there's like a skull and bones kind of weird thing that he's investigating, and that Ra's al Ghul could be actually knowing about all of this, and fuck, man, well, I want to see that show so badly.
Well, there's another part where Paul Dini talks to Kevin Smith at length about the
cartoons,
both cartoons,
yes,
and their hatred of girls,
yes.
This is stuff I want to talk about, but man, we're way over what we got.
That was a really
ton of
really
stuff
good,
this week,
but that was really good stuff. Though I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I'm just going to hit up it briefly. I mean, there's the whole stuff with the toys and why they don't want girls in the show because they don't buy any toys and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's a whole nother dimension to it all. Yeah, because we knew Young Justice had the toy problem,
right?
Now, if you release $40, $30 toys with characters no one gives a rat's ass about, you got a problem. So, of course, the show is going to die.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this stuff a little bit more at length next week.
Let's do it.
When we have our year-end wrap-up episode.
Well, and that gives them homework to listen to that Fat Man on Batman.
Yeah. I actually need to listen to it. I've listened to it myself,
those two episodes were really good. I mean, actually, all the ones I've listened to, I listened to the Kyle Higgins ones about Nightwing. That was really good. The Grant Morrison's ones are fucking miraculous.
Didn't Snyder do one too?
Oh yeah, he's great on it too.
He's been on a couple.
Capullo was on it. Capullo is really funny.
Yeah.
He's a guy.
I need to get around to it.
If I ever did a comic book, Capullo is probably one guy I probably wouldn't get along with because I like telling my artists. I did a couple project Paulo, and I literally tell him this is how I want things to look. And it looks like Capullo hates the shit out of that. So it's kind of funny to hear a different way of them working together.
Well, especially the way he was doing Spawn for such a long time.
Well, that's
doing what he wanted to do.
No, it's not even that. It was Todd McFarlane going, I just need two dudes talking. I'll fill in the words.
Yeah. Well, I know we wanted to, last week we skipped out talking about, we talked about Arrow for a little bit, but we did not talk about the finale as well as the finale of Walking Dead. So,
mid-season finale.
Are we just going to put that to next week?
No. We're going to do that now. I mean, we got a ton of great questions here on Twitter, but we're going to have to skip out.
Why don't we move that to next week? I mean, we got the year's end. We could talk about the shows. We call it the books.
That's pushing way too much because we got a lot to talk about.
Well, next week, we're going to have a full cast, and we want to talk about kind of our favorite stuff and everything.
All right.
So.
We're going to have to try and keep prices repeating down.
Yeah, so at least...
Well, let me tell you about the X-Men.
In
1967.
So, Green Arrow, or Arrow, I'm sorry, as the show is called, had its mid-season finale.
Or Naked Arrow?
Yeah, Ollie Porn. Had its mid-season finale, which, I don't remember what the name of the episode was called, but it was...
Three Ghosts?
Three Ghosts,
right?
Yeah.
But it was, among other things...
fucking cool.
It was the wrap-up of this arc, including the introduction of... I mean, first of all, major spoilers going forward as well. So if you haven't seen these
turn it off.
Turn them off, yeah.
And come back.
Kind of introduction of Solomon Grundy to the Arrow universe. A bit of a different take on him, but
which one is Solomon Grundy?
The guy.
The Cyrus Gold.
Yeah, the big guy that was fighting him.
The guy with the black mask?
Yeah, Cyrus Gold.
Yeah,
Solomon Grundy?
Yeah, again, it's a bit of a different take.
But when they set the riddle and said Solomon Grundy born, I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
It's what they were leaning towards. Because I didn't necessarily hear too well in that scene when they did the poem because I think.
Oh man, I was so excited, and I was like, "Where the fuck is Solomon Grundy?" The whole time, I'm like, "Where is he?"
It's that potion is gonna probably mutate him slowly. I mean, he already has a little bit. He's super strong and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, so again, like I said, kind of the introduction of Grundy, but the surprisingly comic accurate introduction of Deathstroke onto like Slade Wilson. I'm sorry, like the Deathstroke ongoing series Slade Wilson, like that looked dead on.
Yes.
Like the gray hair and everything, like they really nailed that. So now we know kind of his deal off island. Now he's going to be a big bad on the show.
That was a cool freaking reveal.
Yeah. And surprisingly, totally caught me off guard. I was not expecting it. I didn't think for a million years that they were going to... I mean, I figured they would bring him off the island somehow.
Yeah.
But I just didn't think it was going to be...
Well, it was weird to me because I thought back to the pilot episode where... you see the spike and the
other Deathstroke.
No,
well, there's two of them.
The mask.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay. And then watching the entire first season, and you're just like, oh, there was two of them. But now it's like it's starting to like make a little more sense.
I kind of just assumed, his whole thing with Slade is just going to be on the island, and we won't get Deathstroke in the regular world. Like, and I was totally fine with that. So I figured this whole lead-in was going to be Ra's al Ghul. I thought that's where they were going with that. But no, Slade. So Slade Wilson.
Well, also the internet. I mean, I talked to you earlier about this. There's a little bit of interrumor, and internet rumors, so take it for all you want, that Summer Glau might be Slade's daughter. Might be Rosa Wilson. So
that would be fucking awesome.
That would be cool. But I mean, right now he said that she's actually playing a real character. But it was like with as many characters they split into two characters, they could combine characters into one too.
Yeah, that character, I forget her name, but she's a character from the comic. She was someone that tried to take over, Queen Industries and all that. So, but no, if they wanted to do a double switch, and she's working for Slade, they could make her Terra. There's all sorts of stuff they could do. Terra from the Teen Titans that kind of double cross.
That means there might be a Geoforce.
That double cross the Titans. And
Metamorpho was already teased in this.
I know, but if they do Geoforce, I think I just jizzed in my pants.
So there's a lot of stuff there, but and again, not the most comic accurate, but probably as close as we're going to get. And we were all waiting for this. We straight up got the Flash getting his powers.
I got fucking tingles.
Barry Allen.
I got tingles watching the
that was cool
when
as
the
hell.
liquids just went up and started slow motion. My arms were on fire with goosebumps.
They gave us some actual full on special effects in that scene, and they've been teasing this. What is it? The particle accelerator. As this thing in Central City that there's a bunch of trouble, and he's like, "Well, I got to go back and find out what's going on now. I want to be there when they turn it on."
And he's late for it, which was awesome.
Of course. Yeah. And so it shoots off this kind of pulse through the city, and he's kind of shut this kind of ceiling vent thing that he's got open, kind of a Dr. Frankenstein.
It's going to start to rain, so he's trying to close the skylight.
Right, and so it shocks him through it, shoots him into the liquids, which we got the tease of that the episode prior.
Yeah.
Where he's climbing up all the liquids, moving stuff around, and there's a lightning bolt outside.
These are all in the wrong spots. This is just a recipe for a disaster.
Right, so I think everyone thought that was a scene where he gets something completely different, but no, they straight up and they hit him with it, and they kind of leave that alone. And at this point,
I'm really happy with how they did it. I mean, the first season was, while a superhero show, was somewhat Nolan-ish, where it's grounded in reality. And, when you jump all of a sudden with super people running around in the city right away, it would have been kind of odd. But some slowly kind of moving, like the one being injected with serum, Flash being hit with the lightning bolt, slowly bringing it in.
And we also got Green Arrow is now no longer the face paint stuff.
Yeah.
He's full on got the domino mask. So I give it to him as a gift by Barry Allen.
I think the best thing about that Barry Allen origin Flash scene is that the pilot can literally pick up with him waking up.
Right.
I would have no problems if that was the pilot. Yeah. That's where the pilot started.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll get backstory of him and all this stuff, but they will probably redo or recap those scenes, and that will be the pilot. And at this point, they're, as far as I know, they were like in early pre-production, and they're getting ready to film at some point soon.
I am really surprised at how much I like Barry Allen this.
Yeah.
When I first saw early pictures of him, I was like, he's a fucking kid, he's young, he's smirking, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? They're gonna destroy it, but he just has that certain amount of charm where it just freaking works. It was really well done. I really liked it.
Did a real good job with him. Real good job.
Yeah.
So I like that a whole lot. And yeah, I mean,
you gotta thank the writers on these shows, man. They're doing a really fantastic job. Just doing everything kind of like walking the fine line of pleasing probably like what CW wants of all the shirtless dudes, and pleasing the comic book fans, and pleasing the girlies that are watching it. I'm walking a lot of fine lines there, and they seem to meshing everything together the right way.
I think the thing that they're doing really well is that they're taking what's at the core of these characters, and they're being true to what's at the core. That's what it
always should have been about.
You know, it's like it's like we all watched that scene where, you know, Barry Allen's struck by lightning and gets hit through chemicals, and we're like, and they teased it so perfectly before, but we're sitting there going, it's not exactly what's going on. He's not doing what he was doing necessarily in the scene, but what happened to him is basically the same.
Things, you know, updated. When things get updated, they need update. They need to feel fresh and new, and if you stay true to what they really were, and things are different, I don't mind. I mean, as long as it feels like this is Barry to me, right? You know, this feels right. Even though he's younger, you know, everything just, you know, it works for me. So yeah, I'm fully on board.
I mean, I don't think any rational person would stop watching the show if they didn't take off the grease paint and put on a domino mask. I mean, to me, that doesn't matter either way. No. However, the fact that they're willing to do it, make it a plot point, and kind of acknowledge it, to me, is like, yeah, they understand these characters, they understand the motivations, they understand the history in the background, and so they're willing to be like, yep, we did something, now we're willing to end it, now we're willing to change it. It's something that happens so infrequently in TV shows.
Yeah. Well, this is something actually going back to the Fat Man and Batman. Paul Dini talked about this a little bit. He goes, basically we're at an age now where some of these showrunners grew up on these comic books. They basically are adults now, like same as the music thing, where all the music started being in movies is because all these guys that were young are running this shit now. We got a bunch of people running shit in the TV and movie industries that actually grew up reading this stuff. I mean, they're at an age where they have some control over this stuff, right? As opposed to 10, 20 years ago where you got a bunch of old fucks going, I don't understand this shit. The dude with an S on his fucking chest, well, you know, what's he do? You know, can we have some Yetis and shit, right? That stuff is gone. That time is gone. Now you got a bunch of people that, you know, like Kyle Higgins grew up on the Paul Dini Batman cartoon, right? I mean, he flat out grew up on that stuff. So we got an age of people now in charge that understand comic books, understand these characters. Therefore, we got a lot better content these days, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, going back to the comic books, I would like to see, although we definitely have it for a lot of creators, you know, I'd like to see that new generation of comic creators kind of do the same thing. And I feel, you know, I think we were talking about this before. You know, some of it works perfectly, you know, in the superhero stuff, some of it less so. But, you know, there's always going to be that. And I think when you look back, you see the good stuff, and you remember you don't even remember the garbage. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But Arrow, I mean, you know, to me, as good as the show can get at this point, I'm so happy the show is as good as it is. You know,
polar opposite. You got Shield.
This has.
Did anyone watch the mid-season finale for that show?
It took me 4 tries to watch it because every time I watched it, I fell asleep.
You watched the mid-season finale?
I watched it 4 times because I fell asleep every time, and I had to like just try it again the next night. I tried it, and I actually did it last night. I finished it last night because I wanted a new Arrow is going to come up, and I wanted to be fair to Shield. Everybody, don't hate on me. I wanted to be fair, and I wanted to compare the two, but
there's no comparison.
It's no comparison, no. Now I'm really hoping that Daredevil is going to be really good. I mean, that's a lot more doable than Shield is.
I didn't read the whole article, but I saw something in Comic Resources earlier today where they were talking about, you know, they want to bring the Marvel universe more into Shield and everything, and kind of have them connected more, which is great, which is what we all want.
Which should have been there to begin with,
right? So. Like,
the guy who plays Gunn from Buffy and Angel, he should have been Night Thrasher or something. Yeah, in the first episode. Again,
if you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes of Arrow and you're like, man, this isn't really Green Arrow, I'm not going to disagree with you. It's different, but they figured it out. They changed. They made some stuff is not going to be. It doesn't have to be identical. I don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Because then it's going to be boring.
Right? People think they want that, but they actually don't. I want to be surprised. I want something different. I want a new take on it, but I want the core aspect still there.
And I think with Green Arrow, with Arrow that first season, they were also coming off of like this long run of Smallville, so there was kind of that whole thing there, and they were also tackling Arrow and seeing where it was going, and they were also kind of doing two distinct storylines at the same time, one being the present, one being the past on the island, and it took them a little while to. Well, no,
I think that was brilliant because
it was a
the reason why it's brilliant is because they knew the stuff on the island has to be told, right? Mm-hmm. That made it so that they only have to tell half a story in the actual episode, meaning they had a little more leeway of fixing things, or if this week and this week didn't work, that's really just one episode of current time. Yeah. Then they have that extra time to fix shit as they go on. Yeah.
No, but like I was I'm gonna say is the having the stuff on the island in the present, it took them. I think what we all kind of agree about halfway through the first season. Was it kind of like
8 or 9 episodes, and then 8 or 9 really episodes, kind of clicks.
And then it's like, but once it clicks, it's gone. Like you're on that ride, and you're going, and you're enjoying every second.
I was pretty much on the ride since the beginning, and saw that shirtless Ollie.
Well, in a similar fashion, Walking Dead, in some aspects, very different from the comics. Mm-hmm. Again, I feel has taken the aspects of the comics that work so well.
Well, you could call the TV show the remix. It's really what it is.
It is a remix.
It's a remix of the comic books.
You kind of ended a lot of the same spaces, but your journey there is a little bit different.
Yes. But that works, though, because if it was identical to the comics,
exactly,
who the hell would watch it?
Right, exactly.
And the people that would watch a TV show like it and want to read ahead is going to read ahead and not watch a TV show.
Right. I like stuff to be a little bit different. It doesn't have to be the same. I like the,
But the core people
I want some of the core beats to still be there, but I want to be, intrigued and interested. And I want to see something different. And, again, people complain about Walking Dead being a slow show. And while I don't disagree in aspects, you then get the last couple episodes, which were anything but.
Well, that's the thing. It's the calm before the storm. The show literally has. It's showing those moments, those dramatic moments between people and their interactions in this zombie apocalyptic world, and then once the ball starts rolling, it rolls and rolls and rolls, and anyone caught in its path is out. They're just done.
Yeah, I heard some people complain about those Governor episodes.
Oh shit, they were so good,
and I don't know what people are talking about.
So good,
they were fantastic.
It reminded me perfectly.
It was as good as the Taylor episode in Lost. It's like we're gonna follow the same situation with a different group of people and see what fucked up shit happens, and then we're going to tie it right back into the main line.
The thing that did so beautifully with the Governor was just this inkling going, is he turning? Is he good now? Is he good now? And boom, he's like, fuck you all. Yeah, I'm not good. I'm going to fuck everything up for everybody.
Well, and his storyline, what happened to him tied in so nicely in this last episode. Yeah. With the woman that he meets and the daughter, the new family that he adopts, and it just gets wiped out. And it's like you sit there and he's sitting there. He has Rick. Rick's about to be crushed.
Don't you just hate hope in that show? You have like that glimmer of hope. And Rick is like, just join me. It's food for everyone. Just join me. There's a glimmer of hope, and the Governor's like, fuck you. Yeah. Don't cut his head off.
But it's like you're sitting there, and it's like, Rick's almost to die, and Michonne's sword just comes right through him, and you're like the people who've read the comic book are just like, yes, because it's Michonne. She's doing what she did in the comic book, is taking out the Governor. But then they take this woman that he adopted, whose daughter is now dead because of his actions, and she's the one that pulls the trigger that kills him. Like, it tied in so nicely, and I was like, done. That was awesome. Great. Because, he was dead. The second Michonne, stabbed him through, he's dead. Oh, we're going to watch him turn into a zombie. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. And then she comes over, and she puts a bullet in his head, and you're just like, awesome. Yeah.
And Daryl, you never know what's going to happen with him just because he's not in the books at all. But
exactly.
Fuck, man, they can never kill that guy off. He's so awesome. When the zombie is sneaking up behind him.
Oh yeah,
and when you thought he might get bitten, and you see him using the zombie as a human shield, I'm like, oh my god, that's Daryl. He's so badass.
It's one of those things where when they killed Andrea, at the end of last season, I was like, what the fuck? Like, Andrea's still a big part in the comic books. And I know Robert Kirkman said, he's like, I wanted to kill her off a long time ago. It just never did. And so it's like, yeah, it's a remix. They're doing what Kirkman,
Same as Herschel. They said they've been trying to kill Herschel off a long time ago, even on the show, and it just didn't work.
But what was it?
This is one of those situations where it's like, it worked, and it was rough. I mean, so in my mind, I mean, again, not having read the Game of Thrones books, if you guys are in Brock, as I know is, when the Red Wedding episode aired.
Oh, so good.
People lost their minds. I mean, it was crazy. People lost their minds.
This is a new age of television, though. You got story, character-driven TV shows. Walking Dead is one of them. Game of Thrones is another.
Yeah, we've had
Breaking Bad is one of them. You got Orphan Black. I mean, they're all like arced storylines. It's like watching a movie in 12 episodes, basically.
We've had times in Walking Dead that kind of were, I don't want to say, as shocking as that sequence, but this is probably as close as we've got to that, where it's like, okay, you kind of know stuff's going to start going down, and this is a little more overt about it. It's a little more obvious, but you're still like, oh, shit just went down. Like, and while I figured it might happen, I didn't think it'd be quite as bad as it was. Yeah. And especially at the end of the episode, because I mean, everyone is completely broken up again. So we're back. We're away from a civilization. This sort of civilization they built for themselves. You have people kind of on the run, and I mean, I really liked the parts with Michonne and what's her face in the last season, where it was just the two of them.
Oh, Andrea
and Andrea, yeah. And I think we're going to get that again with Rick and Carl.
That's what I think we're going to get. Is we haven't actually seen this group
on the road.
And that's the thing is I think that now, because, especially in the comic books, it's like after the prison, which is like trade 8, in the comic books, they're traveling on the road and you're just like, it's open. Like they don't know what's going to happen. And so it kind of adds this different dynamic, this different kind of anything can happen. And I mean, you got to deal with people. And I mean, it's hinted to it in the show with, the two guys in the bar with Herschel and Rick, from season 2, and that one kid who gets his leg, falls off the roof and his leg stabbed. It's like you get these random, characters that come in that are they worth it? Are they, do we keep them
how much
around?
do you want to invest emotionally in these characters? I mean, I think that's why these new TV shows are doing so well, because you actually really do get attached to these characters, as opposed to a movie where it's an hour, 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours long. If they die in the movie, sure, it's a heartbreaking moment. But when you watch these characters for 2-3 seasons, you feel like, per normal TV, well, that's the cast. They should just go on, but bam, they're going to kill him. It's so emotional. It's cool.
And that's why they need to be slow in a sense, because they need to develop these characters. Like, we need to get a sense of who these characters are.
And this TV stuff is working. I mean, I even want to say Sons of Anarchy is kind of not in the ballpark, but it's up there.
Sons of Anarchy has a huge following of people, and I mean, they do a great job with character development in that show.
Yeah.
And, they're not afraid. I mean, screw you, Best Buy, for ruining Opie for me.
Yeah, I know.
But shit. It's like a character dies in the show, and I mean, even if
I think that's cool, though. People actually care.
Yeah, they care.
Yeah. That means you got a good written show.
But, I mean, back to comic books, but I remember reading that first trade of Sin City, and the main character you've been following the whole time, Marv, gets electrocuted in the electric chair at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? But then it's like, guess what? We can revisit this character at a different point in time. And you got those little special one shots where he kind of just is in the background and he comes in and you're like, hey, that's cool. You know what I mean? And if they keep talking about, I mean, there's rumors that they're going to do the kind of Walking Dead spin-off show.
Yeah.
Right? If these are stories about like people turning into a zombie that's key in the show, or, back origin story kind of stuff for certain characters, or just a mesh of different stories in this world, I think it would do really, really well.
Yeah.
So, but who knows?
What's next?
That's it.
All right.
That's our episode. Yeah, Walking Dead. I can't wait for all. It's gonna be a rough kind of winter till all these shows come back, because it's gonna be time to catch up on a few things. But yeah.
In January, because Walking Dead's not back till.
I can't wait to see where they go.
The middle of January. Arrow's not back till the middle of January.
Is it January or February? Is it January?
No, wait. Walking Dead is February. Arrow's January, I think.
I think Game of Thrones is March.
Too.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is March because the Blu-ray comes out in February.
Yeah.
Excited.
Which I haven't seen The Red Wedding yet.
There's a lot of good.
But I've read the book, so I already know what happens.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've read 5 books, so I already know what happens.
Say one word.
Season 4.
Say one word, and I swear it's all over, Brock.
Ryan, burn them all.
Destroy you. But those books don't exist. I pretend them to exist till the show's over.
Ryan, I will tell you this. Winter's coming.
That's what I hear. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You guys wrote a bunch of good questions this week, and I'm sorry this episode.
Shitty that we can't. Answer them.
Well, there was a lot to talk about, so we just didn't get a chance to hit some of those up. But you guys always write good questions to us on Twitter. So
Thank you.
We'll see if we can read some of these next week if we run a little short or a little long on time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Brock, Toby, thank you for coming by. If you want to listen to this episode or all their other episodes, you can go to www.geekbox.net. Or www.comicsconspiracy.biz. You can find all our episodes on there as well. Forums.geekbox.net is where you can talk to us, as well as the Geekbox community group on Facebook. Go find that. It's a little group. Going to invite you in. So just click the join, and you'll get right in when I see it's someone's joining, which is pretty regularly. I mean, I check often. So you should listen to all the other podcasts that we do, as well as Geekbox. Good Job Brain, and The Comedy Button, as well as All Talk Podcast, which is a community group podcast that they do out there. And myself and Ryan Scott at the Geekbox just recorded episode 100 with them. It's going to be up the last week of December, so they're doing like a little, kind of like we are, and probably like the Geekbox will as well. We're going to do like a 2-parter best of 2013 for the next couple weeks. And then their episode 100 is right at the end of the month. So nice. Fantastic job. It was a lot of fun recording with them. Always listen to that podcast. Good guys. So go listen to those. Brock's got his blog at conspiratobrock.com. Omar's got his website at comicsandekine.com. Charlie, he's got the Infinite Longbox podcast at infinitelongbox.com.
Toby.
Infinite Longbox.
There you go. We're all on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan, which I'm fucking trying to fight Ryan Higgins, that asshole on Twitter. I'm trying to get my name back from him.
Well, you do have, 3,000 followers?
He posted one dumb thing once, and it looked like his account got hacked or something. He's got this stupid giraffe avatar. I want to strangle it.
You do have 3,000 followers. Can't you just get all 3,000 of them to gang up on him?
Maybe. But he probably doesn't use it. He doesn't even know. Brock Sager.
Get off your Twitter. Fuck you, asshole. Lou and your giraffe and big ears.
You know what you need to do? You need to befriend somebody who's a head honcho at Twitter and have them go, this account's been inactive for so long.
It has.
And, I think they just took it over to take it away from me, but I'm a verified user.
I'm not verified.
No, you just get verified.
Oh, there you go. Omar is Comics and Decine. Larson Bryce is Larson Bryce. He's also named Bryce Larson, but his Twitter handle is Larson Bryce. Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Email us if you want to do that. You can do that in The Comic Conspiracy. That's comic, no S, just comic. The comic. The Comic Conspiracy at Geekbox.net.
Strong bad? I'm a strong bad.
Email to email. What's the email? I don't think so. Maybe. I haven't seen a strong bad in a long time.
I think strong bad and the Blade was a Homestar Runner.
Homestar Runner.
Yeah. I think they were just ahead of their time before the whole YouTube craze.
Oh, yeah. Homestar Runner is fantastic.
Teen Girl Squad.
I love Homestar.
Memories.
So good. That's it.
Make sure to read your copy of Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep, Infinity Gauntlet. We're going to be doing that pretty soon.
On iTunes. We've been kind of like
we don't get too many reviews on iTunes.
The most helppul one is very hateful of us.
But if you like us, you should review us on iTunes. Give us some 5-star reviews on there because it helps people find the show. Because if you go on there and you search for comics, we're a little bit down the list.
There's no comic book section in it.
No, there's not. It sucks.
I may have to do something about that.
You should look into that.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Let me see what I can do.
There's a lot of comic podcasts.
Yes, let me see what I can do.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know some people.
Nice.
Let's try.
So go rate us on there so we get a little bit higher on that, and then more people will find us, more people listen.
Even if you hate us. Some of those hateful reviews are kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. But as long as you give us 5 stars, that's all that matters.
Yeah, 5 stars of hate. We love 5 stars of hate.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch everyone next week for the first part of our 2-part Best of 2013 episode.
Why don't we just call it the double size spread over
the double
like 2
size for
weeks?
Toby is non-existent because he's so behind on. He's still on reading 2012 books.
He's on. What, you were on 17?
But at least you've watched TV shows and movies from this year, right? So
I mean, Ryan isn't even caught up because if you had, I mean, well, no, you're at the start of
I like to be up to date on a little bit on comics. I could do indie comics.
I'm caught up on a couple
5 indie comics.
I'm caught up on a fair number of titles. So, but you will hear about all those titles next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you in 1 week's time.